Followers, and welcome to another Queensland Severe Weather Chasers Network cyclone update. This is the 13th of December 2018. My name is Nathan Donnelly, and tonight we are continuing our coverage of severe tropical cyclone Owen. So as we can see, at 4 p.m. this afternoon, cyclone Owen was a Category 3 system sitting just off the coastline of the Northern Territory there. It's expected to ever so slowly start moving back towards the Queensland coast in this an easterly direction tomorrow morning. It's then expected to it's a bit hard to tell on this map, but it's basically going to retrace its steps, and at let me see, it's expected to then make quite a quick trip over towards the middle of the Gulf of Carpentaria, and at 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon expected to be a Category 4 system, and then it will continue in a east to southeasterly direction, and by 4 a.m. on Saturday morning we'll have expected to have crossed the coast by that stage as a Category 4 system, but by 4 a.m. Saturday morning expected to be a Category 3 system, and it de-intensifies quite rapidly according to the Bureau of Meteorology, and then by 4 p.m. Saturday afternoon expected to transition back into a very deep low pressure system. Let's take a look now at the rainfall that is expected from this system over the coming days, and here we are tomorrow, and we can see that around the Kawama region expecting about 50 to 100 mils of rain. Just offshore though, expecting the 100 to 150 mils, but basically anywhere up and down the Cape York Peninsula on the western coastline expecting some rainfall from this system. Then if we look through to Saturday, and we see that the rainfall has, I guess, decentralized from a particular area. It's now a bit more widespread, now reaching anywhere from Kawama through to about the eastern coastline of the Cape York Peninsula, there just south of Cooktown, expecting this 100 to 150 mils, a little spot in there that's expecting between 100 to 150 to 200 mils of rain, but that certainly is not widespread. So this I think is evident from this system just de-intensifying as soon as it hits the coastline there on Friday evening, sometime Saturday morning. On Sunday, and we can see that the rain has now hit the eastern coastline of Queensland, now between Innisfail right down through Bundaberg and those areas, and inland around Emerald, Moranbah, Charters Towers and those sorts of areas are expecting this 25 to 50 mils of rain. A little spot there between Mackay and Bowen expecting 50 to 100 mils. And then on Monday, we see that the rain has continued down its track down the eastern coastline of Queensland. Now the heaviest falls being experienced between Rockhampton through down to the New South Wales Queensland border, but anywhere between, say, just south of Townsville down to the Queensland-New South Wales border, expecting some rainfall from this system. And as far inland, just to the east of Taroom and Emerald, Moranbah, getting some there as well, getting some rainfall from this system. Let's get into the models now of where this system is expected to go over the next few days. And this is the European model, and at 9 p.m. this evening, the European model saying that the cyclone system is sitting there just off the Northern Territory coastline near Burra-Lula. We head into Friday morning, and we can see that at this stage the system starts making this easterly movement quite rapidly towards the Cape York Peninsula, and at 7 a.m. Friday morning, expected to be still off the coastline of the Northern Territory, but heading more towards the middle of the Gulf of Carpentaria. Then into Friday evening, and the system quite rapidly crossing the Gulf of Carpentaria in this easterly direction, and at 9 p.m. tomorrow evening expect to be just off the coastline there of Pormpuraae. So just sitting there, and it's the Bureau saying that at this stage the system expected to be a Category 4 system. Then into Saturday morning, we can see that the system crosses the coastline early Saturday morning, and at 7 a.m. expected to have crossed the coastline. They're just south of Pormpuraae, and expected to de-intensify quite rapidly as it does so. Then into Saturday evening, and at 7 p.m. we can see that the system really has lost a lot of its oomph at this stage, and has travelled in the southeasterly direction, and now just west there of Cairns, or just northwest there of Cairns. And if we then go through Sunday morning, and this is where things get a little bit more interesting, because Sunday morning this system is expected to be back fairly close to the coastline, so it's still able to get a lot of moisture, which will keep a lot of the rainfall with this system happening. And if we have a look at this stage, Cairns expecting about 44.6 mils of rain at this stage from the system, up to 66.2 mils. So still a lot of rainfall happening with this system here on the Sunday morning. And if we just move our map a little bit further over, and we'll have a look into Sunday evening, the system expected to track down the east coast. The European even saying that as it gets there near Townsville, could get back off the coast. Now that could be quite interesting, depending on what the situation and what the environmental factors are at that stage. The system could redevelop, or it may not. It may have passed its use by date at this stage, but at 11 p.m. Sunday expected to be sitting off the coastline of Townsville. And if we look at the rainfall for Townsville at this time, we can see it's quite minimal, not very much at all. About 2.4 mils of rain expected for Townsville on this Sunday at 11 p.m. Let's just have a look at what happens Monday with the rainfall, and we can see here that at 7 a.m. the rainfall hits the coastline again here between Mackay and Townsville. So we're looking at the Bowen and Eyre district, and they're expecting 60 mils of rain. So the system's still packing quite a bit of moisture, and there we can see the winds associated with it, and the winds even just offshore are at 27 knots up to 29 knots. So still quite strong winds with the system. We then look into Monday evening. We can see that the system is, well, it's kind of doing something that wasn't really expected by a lot of the models. It seems to now be coming back onto the coast, just south there of Townsville, and heading back up to in a northwesterly direction. So be very interesting to see whether this one actually comes off. Let's look through Tuesday morning, and the system's definitely making this northwesterly direction shift. So it was expected to go down the coastline of Queensland, but according to the European system, it sort of stalls there just around in between Townsville and Mackay, comes back onto the coast, and then comes back up towards Townsville. Very interesting to see whether the European is right with this one. Okay, so now let's have a look at the GFS model, and it's saying that at 8 p.m. this evening, Tropical Cyclone Owen expected to be there off the coastline of the Northern Territory near Burralula and just south of Aliangula. So I probably have pronounced that incorrectly. I do apologise for that. But it's pretty much in the same spot that the European said that it would be. Let's head into Friday morning. And we see that according to the GFS, the system does make this transition towards the east, and as it does so, it does intensify through to Friday evening, and we can see that it crosses the Gulf of Carpentaria quite rapidly towards the western coastline of the Cape York Peninsula, and by 5 p.m. Friday afternoon expect to be in the middle of the Gulf of Carpentaria. If we look now through to Saturday morning, and we can see that by 5 a.m. Saturday morning, the system is expected to be crossing the coastlines just south there of Prompure, and which is a little bit later than what the European said that it was going to do. But nonetheless, it still hits around the same area as the European said it would. Then into Saturday afternoon, we can see that it continues its journey across the Cape York Peninsula, de-intensifying quite rapidly as it does so. By 2 p.m. they're expected to be in the middle there of the Cape York Peninsula. Sunday morning, it's taking on this southeasterly sort of track. Saturday evening, 11 p.m. expected to be there near Forsyth, and we'll have a look at what the rain associated with the system according to the GFS is. 45.9, 50 mils of rain happening at this time with this system. Sunday morning, and we can see that the system, according to the GFS, takes more of an inland track compared to what the European was saying. European had it right over here near the coastline and sometimes even off the coastline, but the GFS saying that it's going to stay more inland. We look at the rain associated with the system at this time, and what we can see is 39.3 mils, 44.6 mils, so still quite a bit of rain associated with the system. Then we continue looking at what happens further on into Sunday afternoon. The system takes this southeasterly track along the coastline of Queensland, and at 4 p.m. Sunday afternoon expected to be there between Townsville and Mackay. If we continue to track its progress into Monday morning, and we can see that by about 6 a.m. Monday morning, it's expected to be there just to the southwest of Mackay. And the rain associated still with this system at this stage is still around the 41 to 55 mil mark. So still quite a lot of moisture with this system. If we look at the winds, and we can see that we're getting around 26 knot winds just offshore there, and just to the south of the system 24 knots. So the wind's still quite strong with the system. Let's look and see what happens Monday afternoon. And the system seems to just do a bit of a stalling tactic. And by 6 p.m, it's still sitting there just to the southwest of Mackay. So you can still see that there is a centre of rotation with the system, but it really has lost a lot of its intensity. Into Tuesday morning, and just like the European was saying, the system doesn't travel down the coastline as what has been expected from this system for quite a while now. It seems to stall there just southwest of Mackay and goes inland. So it's now going in a westerly direction instead of the southeasterly direction. We look into Tuesday evening. By 9 p.m, the system really has washed itself out at this stage. So very interesting, because as I said, this system was expected to come down the east coast and come off the coastline about Brisbane, but it seems as if that's not going to be the case now, and the system now just washing out there near Longreach after spending a bit of time there near Mackay. So that is what the GFS is expecting to happen with this system. And now just having a look at the winds associated with this system using Earth nullschool, and we can see that there is quite a predominant eye with this system, and the winds are really wrapping themselves around the system. So definitely a category 3 system, and anywhere that's to its north, these islands up here probably feeling the full effects of the system at the moment, and definitely the islands just off the coastline there of the Northern Territory also feeling the effects of this system. So very wild and windy time for the people on those islands at this stage. So folks, thanks for watching. We do have a shortened version of our update tonight. Apologies about that. We will do a bit more of an in-depth one tomorrow night. But thanks for watching, and if you'd like to support us in the work that we do in keeping the community updated, please do think about supporting us through our PayPal link on the page. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk again tomorrow evening. Good night.